All right, so good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. And thank you so very much for joining us this evening. Thank you for taking the time out to join us for this wonderful session. Now, we are 10 minutes past our scheduled start time. We're just allowing some of the other persons to join in. We have a few here, so we will commence the session with respect of time for our presenter, Mrs. Graham. So I'll just go right ahead into introducing our presenter and then have her take over so that we can hear from her now the wonderful things that she has to share with us this evening. So without any further ado, our presenter this evening is someone who graduated from St. Andrew High School. She training at the NCR Training College in Dayton, Ohio, and she has a certificate in pastry making from CAST. Now she has a huge work history, right? So she has worked with NCR. She worked with Victoria Mutual Building Society, Colgate Palmolive. She owned and operated Renee's Pastry. She worked with the Wolmer's Boys School Canteen, was a bursar at the Vast Preparatory School. She also owned and operated a brokerage firm, that's Mortgage Specialist. And then in 2009, what a lot of us want to do now is that she retired and she's enjoyed retirement, right? Now, Mrs. Graham, she's married with six children, three biological and three stepchildren, a Christian, and is a member of the Webster Memorial United Church. Now, our presenter this evening was diagnosed in October 2004 with breast cancer, and I think who is better to be presenting to us this evening than Mrs. Graham. Now, she is a member of the Reach to Recovery team since October 2004. She's a deputy chair of the Reach to Recovery 2007 to 2010. And at the present moment, she is the chairperson since 2011 to now, the chairperson of the Reach to Recovery. And if we don't know, the Reach to Recovery is that arm of the Jamaica Cancer Society, is a group of volunteer breast cancer survivors whose sole purpose is to support breast cancer survivors. So ladies, gentlemen, lions, guests, Leos, just, help me to welcome Miss Karen Graham. Mrs.
That
Graham,
was
over to you.
an introduction, Siobhan.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. As you all probably know, October is celebrated worldwide as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And here in Jamaica, we also celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But let's go back to basics. What is cancer? Cancer is really cells that have lost their way, cells that are behaving in a manner that they're not supposed to. They're multiplying faster than they should. So you can have cancer anywhere because the body is made up of cells everywhere. But breast cancer are breast cells that are misbehaving. Now, we talk about breast cancer as being a woman's disease, but that's not entirely true because men also have breast cancer because you do have breasts, although they're very small. But the whole thing of breast cancer among women, worldwide, the incidence of breast cancer among women is 1 in 8 women. In Jamaica, we're not that bad. We're 1 in 21 women. But the other thing is that when you think of breast cancer, you tend to think of lumps. Now, can I share my personal journey with you? Because this will show you that it's not necessarily a lump. I did regular mammograms annually from I reached 45. My obstetrician gynecologist said that I should do them, and so I did. And then in 2004, after doing a regular mammogram, and you just did this thing because you were told you should do it, not because you had any fear of anything coming back positive. But after a regular mammogram in 2004, my gynecologist called me and said they saw something odd and he wanted me to come in and speak with him. Well, I knew that there was nothing wrong with me because I have no history of cancer in my family. Nobody I knew had breast cancer. So clearly there was something wrong with the film that the lab had used. So I said, I want to do this thing again. So I went back and I did another mammogram. And to my distress, it came back with the same specks of little grains of sand in the breast. So we said, all right, let's see what that is. So I did a biopsy. A biopsy is when they take a little sample to test what is going on. So they took the sample and the sample came back positive. Carolyn, you have breast cancer. Now, breasts and women are very closely related because there's a marked difference between the males and the females once you reach puberty. Women develop breasts, men don't. So we are very attached to these breasts and they mean something to us. So when you're now faced with the possibility of losing a breast, for a woman, it is not only a medical condition, it is a mental condition. It is an emotional condition. It is a psychological condition because you're now faced with, is this loss of a breast going to make me any less of a woman than I was before? Am I going to be comfortable with seeing myself in this new paradigm? How is this going to affect my significant other? How is this going to affect my family? Is this thing going to kill me? So all of these things go through your head. And it is important that you have support, family support like we give at Reach. It's not something that you want to go through alone. You really need to have support to steady the ship as you go through the choppy waters of breast cancer. Now, after being told that I had breast cancer, the next thing you're told is you need to find out what happens next. Is there going to be surgery? What kind of surgery are you going to be facing? There are options. There could be a mastectomy. It could be where you take off a breast. It could be a lumpectomy where you take out a lump. In my case, I opted for a mastectomy, which was the removal of the breast. Then, of course, you have other options now. Do you want to do reconstruction? Do you want a brand new breast? Or are you just going to leave the flat area as it is? So there are several decisions that you have to make during this time that you're under stress. So the next thing you say, okay, you're having surgery. After surgery, then it's a case of, okay, we need to find out what type of cancer it was. Yes, it was breast cancer, but did you know that breast cancer comes in various forms? It's like, you have different types of mangoes. You have Julie mangoes, hairy mangoes, different kinds of mangoes. You have different kinds of breast cancer. And they could be estrogen positive, which means that they feed on estrogen. They could be progesterone positive, which means that they feed on progesterone. They could be HER2 positive, which means that they are fed by the HER2 protein. Or it could be that they don't really know what caused it. You're just negative. Nothing indicates as what could have caused it or what feeds it. So there are different treatments that you get depending on what your particular diagnosis was. Mine was estrogen positive, so I was on an estrogen a drug which reduces the production of estrogen in the body for 5 years. And at the end of that, I was done. I was very fortunate. But the truth is that during this period, as I said before, support is important. And there is this group of us called Jamaica Reach to Recovery, which was founded in 1977, which is quite a few years ago, 43 years ago, by Dr. Denise Thwaites, who was a pediatrician. Her husband was a gynecologist. She came down with breast cancer, and she discovered that being a doctor and a patient were two totally different things. And because she found that she needed support, she reached out to the American Cancer Society, and they told her, we have a group called Reach to Recovery, which offers support to breast cancer survivors. Maybe you could start one in Jamaica. And so she did. And the thing is that you sometimes don't know how many of your friends have breast cancer because nobody really goes around saying, hey, I have breast cancer. So she reached out to some of her friends and discovered, hey, some of them have breast cancer too. So they formed this group of ladies who were the tea party type. So they would meet each month and they would have a little tea party. And that group of women were instrumental in the Jamaica Cancer Society getting their first mammography machine. That little group of women who had their fundraising tea parties raised enough funds to provide the Cancer Society with their first mammography machine. Now, from there, it has evolved in that breast cancer really does not respect age or stage or gender or class, so that you have persons of all types who come down with breast cancer, and they all need support. So that our group now has a wide range of women. And the single thing that keeps us together is that we're all breast cancer warriors. We all care about each other. We set about raising funds. Each year we have a 5K. This year we can't because of the virtual situation. But we have been running a 5K for the last 20 years. The first one was in 2000.
All right, we come to Anita.
The first one was in 2000. And it has grown. And over the last 5 years, ICWI came on board as our title sponsor. And with their partnering with us, it really grew. And we were able to raise much more funds than we normally can, or we normally had. We meet every month. Now we're meeting virtually. But what we do is we provide assistance, not only by sharing our experiences, because for somebody who has been diagnosed with breast cancer, it's a whole new world. And what we find is that there are things that come up, challenges that you have, that experiences that you're having and you don't know how to cope. And if you share it with us in the group, there is more than likely somebody there who has had a similar experience, who is able to relate to you and help you over the hump. And in addition to that, the funds that we raise, we use to assist persons who need to get tests and treatments to save their lives. Now, we can't undertake major treatments like, let's say, radiation, where you're looking at $2 million. We don't have that kind of funds. Or if you're HER2 positive, which means that you need Herceptin, and you're looking at maybe $3 million, because treating breast cancer is not cheap. It is not cheap. So that it not only affects you emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and medically, but financially, it is a very trying disease. But we help as best we can, as many persons as we can, with the funds that we raise from our fundraising events. As I said before, this year, we're not having a 5K. So our ability to raise funds will be significantly impaired. But we're doing things like we're making masks and selling those. And these are our design masks with our logo on the side embroidered on it. Really nice masks. You must call the office and get some. And we're selling some metal pins. So those are our fundraising efforts for this year. But back to women and breast cancer, it really is a difficult disease to face because of the whole challenge of the change in your body that you're accustomed to. And it's not like you have an internal organ that is being removed. It is an external appearance which changes. So we are happy to share the experiences that we have. We're delighted to be asked to speak with groups like this. And we take the opportunity at this time to tell you that early detection saves lives. If the women in this group, if you're 40 years and over, you need to start doing an annual mammogram. I know some of you are going to tell me, oh, but it's uncomfortable. But it may be a little uncomfortable, but it is well worth knowing if all is well with your breast. I cannot overstate it. Early detection saves lives. I detected mine early. I am here 16 years after, and I'm fine. So early detection saves lives. Of course, it's important that you eat well. When I say eat well, I don't mean eat a lot. I mean eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and be careful of your diet, that you don't get too fat. Obesity also feeds cancer. And that you basically exercise a little. In other words, do the things that you ought to do, and hopefully you'll miss the bullet of breast cancer. But the other thing is, do not just sit there and say, I have no lump, therefore I am fine. I had no lump, but I had breast cancer. Thank you. Are there any questions? There's dead silence, so nobody wants to ask anything.
Right. So thank you very much, Mrs. Graham. Lions, Leos, guests, this is an opportunity for any questions again that you would have had. I mean, Mrs. Graham shared her personal experience with us. And so again, I'm saying there's no other better person than to be speaking with us this evening. And again, the floor is open to us just to have this dialogue that we can with Mrs. Graham. So I see a hand raised. Leo Oniro, you have a question. Go ahead.
Well, Nicole asked a question. Nicole wanted to know where and when we meet.
Awesome. Go ahead, Mrs. Graham.
Nicole was asking where and when do we meet? We normally meet on the second Tuesday of each month at the Webster Memorial Church Hall. Since March, we have been meeting virtually on Zoom. You can get the credentials for the meeting from our desk. We have a desk at the Jamaica Cancer Society, and the number there that we can be reached at is 876-978-0375. 978-0375.
Right. And I see there's another, well, before the question from line Deborah, Leo Oniro, your question?
Yes, thanks, Lionship, and thanks, Ms. Graham, for the presentation. What I would like to ask is, could you elaborate more on dietary intake and its relation to breast cancer, whether cause or treatment?
The truth is, Oniro, if we knew what caused breast cancer, then we could sort it out. But we really don't know. We sort of say, well, in my particular case, I was put on hormone replacement therapy for 5 years. And I personally think that that was what caused my breast cancer, because my cancer came back estrogen positive. And I was on estrogen for 5 years, for a year before I tested positive for breast cancer. So that, I think, is a direct correlation between breast cancer and myself. Now, there are other persons who will say, boy, I don't know. I hear that chicken causes problems. I hear that if you eat too much red meat, it can cause problems. I hear that, I mean, you hear all sorts of stories, but you really don't know. You really don't know.
Thanks, man.
Right, thank you. And we have another question in the chat asking if there's a survivorship clinic that you are a part of.
A survivorship clinic, as in somewhere that you can go and get treatment? No. What we do is, if somebody, and the person doesn't have to be a member of REACH, let me make that very clear. The persons that we assist are not necessarily members of REACH. It's anybody who comes in off the road and is a breast cancer survivor and needs help. So that persons will come in with a pro forma invoice. Let's say they went to A to get a CAT scan, a CT scan. Then A, let's say, get a pro forma invoice from company A. They bring it to us. We pay, give them a check to go and pay company A to get the whatever the procedure is. So it's not, we don't actually have a clinic, but we assist persons who need help, go to the place that's going to be providing them with the service, get a pro forma invoice, bring it to us, and we then pay for the service they're going to get. The other thing we do too is that sometimes persons coming and they say, boy, they don't know where to go to get, let's say, radiation. They need to get $2 million worth of radiation and they don't have the money. Then we can say to them, well, you need to go to KPH. You need to get a link in KPH, because if you are a KPH patient, then KPH can refer you to the St. Joseph Center, and you can get your radiation done there free, which is a $2 million gift. So we can assist them in pointing them in the direction of getting things done.
Right, awesome. I hope that answered your question, and Deborah. Next question, Mrs. Graham, is asking you to elaborate a little on the process of reconstruction.
Well, there are different types of reconstruction. You can have reconstruction done at the same time that you have your major surgery done. And what they can do is they can either do, I think it's called a cram flap, where they take fat from your tummy and pull it up and fill out the area, so that you now get a breast which is made from your own fat, which has come from your tummy area and filled out back. What that would mean, that they've taken out the breast, left the skin in place, and filled it back up with fat from your tummy. The other thing that they can do is they can put in a spacer, which means that the surgery is done and they put something in there to hold the space. And as time goes by, they will make the space, put in the spacer will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it gets to the size that you want, or the size that you want to match the other side. So that it can either be done, that one would not be done at the initial surgery. They would simply put in a spacer at that time. And later on, then you'd have to go back in and put in the bigger units to make the breast to the size you want. If you want, if you've done surgery, you didn't do anything at all, you can also go back and years later decide that you want to reconstruct. And they would do the same thing. They would go in, put in a spacer, stretch the skin a little bit, put in a bigger one, stretch it a little bit more until it gets to the size that you want. The other thing is that some persons who may have both breasts removed could then decide, okay, I want, let's say my breasts were 36D and they were heavy and weighing me down. I want something smaller now. I want a 34B. Then you can decide what size breasts you want. You can get them bigger or smaller, depending on what you choose to do. So there are many different scenarios that can happen. I chose not to do any reconstruction. I decided I had my breast long enough, and if it's an I-parted company, that was fine. And in a case like that, Jamaica Reach to Recovery brings in breast prostheses and specialized bras, which have a pocket, and the prosthesis is like a breast, and it fits in the pocket of the bra, and you are good to go.
Wonderful information there. Another question that we have here is, if there is a female who wants to do a mammogram, however, she is not able to pay for it, can she be aided, can assistance be provided to her in doing this mammogram?
There are several persons who have sympathies related to breast cancer who extend to the Jamaica Cancer Society some funds which can be used to assist women who need to do a mammogram and cannot afford it. It is not a publicized situation, as you can appreciate. If you do that, the world and his wife would arrive on your door. So it is something that the Cancer Society is able to assist with, but it's not a, how do I put it? It's not a publicized offering, because they do not have the ability to satisfy the demand that would arise. So if the person needs to do a mammogram and goes to the Cancer Society, because Cancer Society does mammograms, and goes to the Cancer Society and explains their position and asks for assistance, then the likelihood is that they will be assisted and accommodated. The recommended age for a mammogram is 40. But if a lump is detected, your doctor, your GP, or your whomever you go to and say, I have this lump, will refer you for a mammogram. But if you are less than 40 and you go just walking off the road and say, I have a lump, I want to do a mammogram, they're not likely to do it. You need to be referred if you're under 40.
All right. Any other questions for Mrs. Graham? And if it is that you don't want to talk, you're able to use the chat and ask the questions that you may have. Yes, Leonir, go ahead.
Another question again, Ms. Graham. Could breast cyst, can it become cancerous?
Not likely. Not likely. They can be frightening, but they're not usually malignant, no.
Then is it normal for them to be reoccurring?
In some persons, yes. They just have these cysts that keep coming back, but they don't end up being malignant. They're just annoying, but not life-threatening.
All
My
right.
goodness, everybody's very quiet. It's either that it's as clear as mud, or, or it was so dull that I can't bother to say anything.
No, what I think, Mrs. Graham, is that you have touched some things, you have given that information that has quite a number of us really thinking, right? And see, there's another question that just came up in the chat, saying, if someone with
Fibrocystic
cystic
disease.
disease, yes, can that become cancerous?
It is not likely to become cancerous. It can, but it is not likely. It's something that you simply need to check on an annual basis.
right.
Men. We had a man in our group. There's one man who had breast cancer who is very well known. That's Ronnie Thwaites. He's a breast cancer survivor. But the truth is that men can have breast cancer because they do have breasts, but it's not something that happens often. And usually, because it tends to be a woman's disease, they don't want anybody to know. So they sort of suffer silently and hide it, because I think they think that it will make them less of a man because they're having breast cancer, which is all, of course, nonsense. So in terms of psychological support for men, no, not as far as breast cancer goes, but I'm happy to tell you that the men have now formed a prostate cancer group, which is based in the Webster Memorial Church. I think it's called Brothers Against Prostate Cancer. So that they now have a similar group to us women with breast cancer. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because there are so many men in Jamaica who have prostate cancer and are struggling with it. So that their support group is something that I really welcomed.
And it's very great to hear, that there's a group supporting the prostate cancer for men, especially that, just in September there as well, we did celebrate, prostate cancer awareness. So it's very much, really appreciate that as well. I'm not sure if my colleague here, Leo Addo, his hand is raised. I know he did put a question in the chat to me. You can go ahead and ask the question, Leo Addo, if the question was not already answered. Addo? All right, until Addo gets back. Any other question for Mrs. Graham?
Doesn't seem so.
All right. Well, let me just say, it is very much, great this evening, Mrs. Graham, that quite a number of questions are coming from my colleague Leo Onero, a male, asking these wonderful questions. And he has another question for you at this moment. Go ahead, Leo Onero.
Yes, me again, Mr. Graham. So it's a follow-up to the last question about the cyst. What I was asking is, are the cysts as a result of hormonal changes as well?
Onera, I don't know. I truly do not know. I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know what causes the cysts. I know that we have had lots of ladies who have told me that they have fibrocystic problems and they have cysts and they're wondering if they're going to have cancer, but none of them that I have met so far have presented with breast cancer. So my position on it is, clearly the cysts are annoying, but they're not life-threatening. I think I saw something down there about male survivors. We were willing to support anybody who comes to us with breast cancer is fine. But I can also tell you that we have persons who have come to us with with ovarian cancer. Persons have come to us with cervical cancer, and these are women. And we welcome them because the truth is, cancer is cancer. It may occur in different parts and may behave slightly differently. But once you're diagnosed with cancer, support is something you need. You need to be reassured that life goes on. Yes, we are at a fork in the road, but life goes on. And that's what we are here to say to everybody. Look at us, we're alive. Life goes on.
Yes, indeed, indeed, indeed. Life goes on. All right. Any other questions? Again, we'll ask because we're basically wrapping up. So if you have any other questions, floor is open. All right.
If there are no other questions, what I want to do is thank you for inviting me. I hope that I have provided some information. I hope that I have made the whole business of breast cancer not as threatening as it sometimes seems. I hope that during the month of October, you will either support us through the acquisition of a mask or a pin or a donation of some kind. We have a website, which is www.jareachtorecovery.com, where you can go online and see what we do. Our desk at the Cancer Society is 876-978-0375. And we are always willing to share our experiences, provide support, speak to anybody whom you think needs a little bit of help as they go along the road on breast cancer. We are a caring group of persons, and we are willing to share at any time, in any place, on any occasion. And thank you for inviting me.
And we want to thank you too, Mrs. Graham. But before I go into the vote of thanks, I know we have our president who is on with us this evening. We have quite a number of our members, but our president is here, and Melissa Taylor. And if she'd like to say a few words to you, Lion Melissa, your time.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Graham, for that informative talk on breast cancer. When I listened to your story, I said, oh my God. And I'm happy I made it home in time. The last time I got home on time, but I fell asleep afterwards. But listening to the story and the different treatment, the expense of it and everything, I want to take the thanks for taking the time out to share with us at the Lions Club of Mona. We really appreciate having you to give this talk. Although at first we seem as if we were very shy, but we're not shy. We ask our question until we start feeling comfortable. But Mrs. Graham, thank you so much. We really appreciate this talk. And also to alert us as ladies the importance of getting our breast self-examination done, and if there's a follow-up, we know what to do. Mammogram. The first time I had one, I was so afraid, but now mammogram is like it is so easy. So I'm happy. We're just listening to you. You try to encourage and coax females on the. I'm not sure how many females are on listening. For us, the importance of getting our mammogram done. And cancer is not the end of the road. And I'm thanking you so much for the time this afternoon.
You're very welcome.
You're welcome, Mrs. Graham.
Thank you very much, Lion President. And Mrs. Graham, I really don't know I can't say enough. I mean, thanks alone cannot really express how we are feeling this evening. You know, just thanks first or on behalf of our club or members and our Cancer Awareness and Action Committee, as headed by Lion Nicole, who reached out and helped us to have this opportunity, right? So I want to thank you very much. We have had dialogue, and it's just listening this evening, not even the fact that, we know about breast cancer and we have heard about it, women, and it's always a talk about women, but then to really get it and hear that, men are able, this is not just a virus for women, but men are able to get breast cancer as well. Now, one thing I can say, we spoke about it, and we always talk about early detection saves life. Like I made a post, and it says hashtag early detection, hashtag best solution, hashtag find it, hashtag treat it, hashtag beat it, right? So I just want to say again, thank you. The information received, it was well received. And I know that we will be taking what you have shared and we'll be sharing with others as well. And as we, recognize and celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month, for us, it doesn't stop here. It's the start. And throughout the period, we'll continue to bring awareness to breast cancer. And I will, just like you did, encourage my members, my friends, my colleagues, my Leos, my Lions to support. So go out to the Jamaica Cancer Society, get a mask. I have plans to do so. Get your pins. And like I have, I've created a Facebook frame, and it's basically saying Think Pink. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Think Pink. Again, just helping, indeed, yes, right? Just to bring the awareness of breast cancer and, everything that's surrounding breast cancer. So thank you very much, Mrs. Graham, for taking the time out of, this evening. You could be well resting. And thanks to all the Lions, the Leos, the guests who joined us for this wonderful presentation. We couldn't have a better person presenting to us this afternoon. So again, thank you very much. And we would say safe travel, but we'll just say, rest well.
Rest well. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Bye, Leos.